Hi guys, it's Kimberly with the Caffeinated Snail, and today we're going to make my new pattern, the gingerbread man. He's pretty easy to make. The body and the head are made all together, and then you just have to sew on the arms as well as the bow tie. The materials needed for the gingerbread pattern today is going to be some brown. I am using the color Topaz from the Bernat Super Value skein. You don't need all of it. You probably only need about 100, maybe yards for the pattern. And then you need some white. I believe this is Red Heart white, and then a little scrap of red. Again, I believe that is Cherry from Red Heart. Other things that you will need is going to be some safety eyes. I do use 14mm safety eyes, and then a little black yarn for the mouth, but you can make the mouth also in either red or white to make it look like frosting. Then I also used a 4mm hook, as well as a tapestry needle and polyfill. The stitches you need to know to make this pattern is going to be magic ring, chains, single crochet, increase and decrease. I will note that I do invisible decreases. I could show you how to do that during the pattern making process. And then my single crochets are yarn under so that we have a tighter structure. I will show you how to do that as well. If you are having issues or trouble making yarn under, you can yarn over like a normal single crochet, but the shape might be a little bit elongated since the stitches for yarn under, the rows and rounds are a little bit squished together. They're a bit tighter. When you yarn over, they are a bit more relaxed, so it will stretch more or be a bit more elongated. So the final shape might end up different, but that is an option that you can do. We're going to start by making the legs. We're going to start by making a magic ring by looping it over our fingers and then pulling the yarn from the left under the yarn on the right, and then kind of making a chain to secure it, to make a loop. There's different ways to make a magic ring, but that is how I make it, and I've never had any issues. And then you're going to single crochet 6 into the circle. If you are struggling with making a magic ring, what you want to do is just chain 2 and then work 6 single crochets into that second chain. Once you got your 6 single crochets, you're going to then tighten the circle. A little note about me, I do make my first round in just yarn over normal single crochet because it's easier for me, but then I do the rest of the round in yarn under single crochet. So the second round I'll show you how to do yarn under, but we're going to start in that first stitch to kind of like connect the circle, and we're going to make an increase in every stitch. So that means 2 single crochet stitches in every stitch, and we should end up with 12 single crochets for this round. But to yarn under, instead of yarning over like normal, we're just going to place it behind the hook. The hook will then grab it and pull it through the loops like a normal single crochet, and then we'll just yarn over and then pull through the loops. So again, you just want to insert your hook into that same stitch since it's an increase. Have the yarn go behind the hook. The hook brings the yarn under the loops, and then you're going to yarn over and then go through the 2 stitches. So that is how you yarn under, and we are going to do that for the rest of the pattern. So for this round, like I said, you're going to do an increase, and you should end up with 12 single crochet stitches for the rest of the round. Okay, once you have 12, you're going to start the next round, and you're going to make 18 single crochets for this round. So you're going to start with an increase, and then you're going to make a single crochet in that next stitch, and you're going to repeat that for the rest of the round. So an increase, and then a single crochet, and by the end of this round you should have 18 single crochet stitches. Once you have 18 single crochet stitches, that is the end of round 3, and we will go ahead and start round 4. You're going to make an increase, and then a single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and you're going to repeat that for the rest of the round. By the end of this round, you should have 24 stitches, and this is the last round that we will be increasing on for the leg. After we increase to 24, we're going to make 2 rounds of 24. So there's not going to be any increases, just 1 single crochet in each stitch. Once you're done with the brown, you want to fasten off, and then you want to grab your white, find the tail of it, and you're going to make a slip knot, and then you're going to put that on your hook. And then right where you left off, you're just going to insert your hook, yarn under, and then finish the crochet stitch like normal. And that is how I join my yarn. It makes it for a cleaner finish and cleaner join, but if you have another way of joining your yarn, feel free to use that method. But we're just going to do 1 round of white. And then to finish off the round, join with a slip stitch, and then you can fasten off. And then we can put the white to the side for now. And this is what we have so far for the gingerbread foot. So now we're going to rejoin our brown yarn, and we are going to again keep on working on the foot just for a couple more rounds. You can start where you left off, make a single crochet, and then just single crochet in every stitch. So at this point we should be making 6 rounds of 24 in brown. So after you do that 1 round of white, do 6 rounds of 24 in brown. After you finish the 6 rounds of 24 with brown, then you want to go ahead and make a second leg, and then from here we're going to be joining the legs. You want to immediately join your legs together. There's not going to be any chains in between, which I know sometimes we see. It doesn't matter where you join on the second leg, you just want to join somewhere. So I think right here is good. So I am going to make a single crochet here. You want to make sure it's tight. Sometimes it can end up being loose, but there you go. 1 there, and then you want to single crochet 21, and that 21 does include that first single crochet that you worked in. You should have 3 unworked stitches on your first leg, and then you're going to move over to the second leg, and then you want to see where that last single crochet that you worked in. For me it's going to be this one right here. So then we're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to single crochet right here. And you should single crochet 21 on this side as well, and it should bring you back to the beginning. Alright, so I just finished there, and now we have the legs joined. You can see there is a gap here. We're actually going to sew that together, and you can do that now or you could do it later, but I think I'm going to try and do that now. So I'm going to get a tapestry needle and some extra yarn. Okay, so I have my yarn on my tapestry needle, and you want to be careful not to crochet the stitches together, the ones that you just made, those crochet stitches, because you're going to need those. So Like I said, you could do this whenever. I'm just going to do it now to show you. But you do want to make sure that you do this before you start decreasing, as well as stuffing the pattern, because otherwise the fluff might leak out. And having the seam on the inside of the gingerbread just makes it a bit neater. So I'm just going to tie it a couple times here. Okay, and there you have it. It's all sewn together. And then you can just kind of like tuck it behind a couple of stitches. On the back side, make sure not to get to the front. And you don't have to clip the yarn at all. Because it is on the inside, you could just kind of use it as like a little bit of stuffing. It won't pop out or anything, so you should be fine there. Let's tuck that. And there you have it. They're all sewn together. This is what it looks like on the outside. Okay, and now we can continue with crocheting. Okay, so now that our feet are joined, the middle is sewn together, we are going to make 6 rounds of 42. So you just want to double check that you have 42 single crochet stitches. And this is, now we're working on its belly. So the pattern should go a lot faster. The most complicated part of this pattern is honestly the join. So now that that join is done, we can continue and it should be smooth sailing. Once you have your 6 rounds of 42, this is what it should look like from at least the front. And now we get to begin decreasing. So now we're going to take 42 stitches and turn it to 36. And to do that, we're going to make a decrease. So I'm going to make an invisible decrease. An invisible decrease is where you take the first front loop and then the second front loop of the next stitch over, and then you yarn under, go through both loops, yarn over, go through 2 loops. You want to leave the back stitches alone, so you'll see like that little line there. So that is how you do an invisible decrease. And then after that, you just want to single crochet 5 like normal. And you're going to repeat that 6 times for this round. So you're going to do an invisible decrease and then 5 single crochets. Okay, now that we did that last round, and now we have 36, we're going to do 2 rounds of 36. So we're just going to do a single crochet in each stitch for the next 2 rounds. Once you do the 2 rounds of 36, you're going to do another decrease round, and we're going to turn 36 to 30. So again, we're going to start by making that invisible decrease. And then we're going to do 4 single crochet stitches. And we're just going to repeat that for the rest of the round. So again, that is going to be an invisible decrease, and then the 4 single crochets. So you should be repeating that 6 times. And now you should have 30 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and start stuffing the legs. Now I know a lot of people like to understuff their pattern. I like to have my patterns be very firm, not too firm where this stitches get stretched out a lot, but I do like it to, you know, hold its shape if it's going to be played with for like a long time, especially with younger kids. So it is squishy but firm. Okay, so like this is too loose. I need to have a little bit more stuffing there. And I like to just go back and forth between the legs when I'm stuffing to, one, make sure that they're roughly the same size, because stuffing can distort the size of the legs. And then I also want to make sure that they are roughly the same firmness as well. And sometimes I will use smaller pieces of polyfill to kind of guide where I want it if it is a little bit lumpy. And then sometimes another good hack, if it's like super far in there and your fingers really don't want to like cooperate with you, you can always take like a backside of a pen or a marker and then just kind of like stuff it in there. See, that's a good firmness on this side where it's still squishy, and then this side still is a little too loose. So I need to fix that and add some more. Okay, so I already put in a good chunk of polyfill. I might add more as we work up, but if you add a bunch of polyfill to like the bottom stitches or the legs, it does create like that V shape, especially if you're stuffing it more at an angle. Okay, so you just want to make sure that that is all nice. And then you want to make sure that there's no polyfill near your top opening here, otherwise you will get polyfill kind of like in the stitches, and we really don't want that. So just make sure that it's kind of tucked away. Once you're done stuffing the legs, you're going to continue crocheting, and you're going to crochet 2 rounds of 30. Once you finish the 2 rounds of 30, we're going to go ahead and decrease again. So we're going to turn 30 into 24. So we're going to make an invisible decrease. And then we're going to single crochet 3 times. After you decreased to 24, you're going to do 2 rounds of 24. So just a single crochet in every stitch. And this is what the gingerbread body and legs look like. I did go ahead and stuff it just a little bit. So the last round was 24 stitches. And so now we're going to go ahead and start on making our head for the gingerbread man. So we're going to be working in this row in front loop only, and we're going to go ahead and increase again in this round. So in that first front loop only, you're going to make an increase, so 2 single crochet stitches, and then again in the front loop only of the next stitch, you're going to make 1 single crochet, and you're going to do that for the next 2 single crochets. So for this round, we are going to be making an increase and then 3 single crochets only in the front loop. And this should get us to 30 by the end of this round. Once you did a round of 30 in front loop only, you know you're doing it correctly when you have like that line there. But the rest of the head is going to be normal, so you'll be going through both loops. So the next round we're going to increase from 30 to 36, and I'm trying not to stack my increases. So with the body we had rows in between, so for me I was like it didn't really matter too much because those rows help level out your round, but we are going to be staggering our increases for the head because the increase rounds are stacked together, which can cause some a more hexagonal type shape, and the lines can be very visible if you're stacking your increases. So we're going to try and stagger them a bit. So now that we have 30, we are going to again increase, but I'm going to make a single crochet in the first 2 stitches, and then I'm going to make an increase in that 3rd stitch, and then we're going to make a single crochet in the last 2 stitches. So it should go 2 single crochet, one increase and then 2 single crochet, and you'll repeat that pattern for the rest of this round, so you should end up with 36. Once you have a round of 36, it should look like this now. So now we are going to make an increase round to 42. So for this next round, we are going to do 5 single crochets and then an increase. And so we should get 42 since last round we had 36. So we're going to repeat that again for the rest of the round. Okay, so you should now have 42 stitches. So it looks kind of like that. And now we are going to make our last increase round to get to 48. So for this one, we're going to make 1 single crochet, and then we're going to do an increase. And then we're going to do 5 single crochets. And you're just going to repeat that for the rest of the round. Once you have 48 stitches, we're going to go ahead and start doing rounds of 48. So we are going to make 8 rounds of 48. And this will be the main part of the head. So like I said, you just want to do 8 rounds of 48. Alright, now that we have 8 rounds of 48 done in brown, I went ahead and did another round of 48 just in white. And so now we're going to add our safety eyes. You want the 14mm safety eyes. So we are going to divide our gingerbread in half, just kind of visually, and we're going to add the eyes. So to add the eyes, you're going to count from the white row. You're going to count 3 rows down. 1, 2, 3. And then you want to place them as evenly as you can. So this right here is kind of like our middle stitch, this 4 rounds down. And so then we want to go there and go from 1 to 3 to 5 to 7. And then that is where we want to kind of like place our eyes. Now they should be pretty even by doing that. Like right there. Okay, so now we have the eyes, and so we're just going to add the backings to them. I don't know how other people add backings. I know some people do it this way so that the little bump is out, but I do it this way where the little bump is closer to the stitch, just because I like to add a little embroidery around the eye, like the little white embroidery, and having it backwards essentially, where you have the big side this way and then like the smaller divot closer to the eye. It allows you to kind of get underneath there and get add white. So there we are. That is the head, and now I'm going to join the yarn so that way we can start decreasing. Oh, and also at this time, if you need to stuff your body some more so that it has like the same consistency as the legs, go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to join our yarn. Okay, I just did a single crochet, but now we're going to do decreases. So we are going to do a single crochet, and then we're going to make a decrease, and then we're going to make 5 more single crochets, and we're just going to repeat that pattern. So you should be doing this 6 times. Okay, once you have the first round done, you're going to do another round of decrease, so you should have 42. So now you're going to do, oops, a single crochet, a single crochet, single crochet, and then do a decrease. So 3 single crochets, a decrease, and then 2 single crochets. And you're going to repeat that for the rest of the round. Again, you don't want to stack your decreases because it will be a bit visible. So again, try and stagger them if you can. So this one is going to be 3 single crochets, a decrease, invisible decrease, and then the 2 single crochets. You're going to repeat that 6 times to complete this round. And now you should have 36 stitches, and you're going to make another decrease round. So I'm going to do my first stitch as a decrease in this round, and then I'm just going to single crochet 4, and you're going to repeat that for the rest of the round. Okay, so once you decrease to 30, you're going to then make another round of decrease. So we're now going to make it to 24. So again, we're going to single crochet 2, then we're going to make a decrease, and then we're going to single crochet 1 more time. So that is what we're going to do for this round. So 2 single crochet, a decrease, and then a 1 single crochet, and we're going to repeat that for this round so that we should end up with 24 at the end of it. Alright, so now that we have 24, we should go ahead and start stuffing the head a bit. And then this is the head so far. So we are going to go ahead and make the next round. So we're going to do a single crochet, a decrease, and then a single crochet. So last round we had 24, and then we're trying to get it to 18. And again, we are still trying to stagger our decreases. So we are going to make a single crochet, a invisible decrease, and then we are going to make a single crochet. And you're going to repeat that for the rest of this round. Once you have 18, you can go ahead and kind of like re-squish the head a little bit, add some more stuffing, but we're going to then decrease 18 to 12, and we're going to make a decrease in that first stitch, and then a single crochet, and you're just going to repeat that for the rest of the round. So I just got the circle down to 12, and I'm going to go ahead and fill up the head a little bit with more stuffing to give it a bit of a roundness to the top, otherwise it will appear more flat. So you want to kind of round it out. And I do this by sticking just a little bit of stuffing right where it's flat on the edge. And now I'm going to do the last round. And the last round is simply just making invisible decreases for the entire round. So feel free to go ahead and do that. And you should end this round with 6. And then this is the head. This is what the top of it looks like. Okay, so you want to try and make sure that those decreases are very tight so that you don't have a lot of gaps or anything up at the top. And so now we're going to make the arms. So again, you want to start with a magic ring, and then you're going to single crochet 6 into the magic ring. I'm going to pull tight. All right. There we go. And then we're going to make those increases in every stitch. So now we're going to make our way to 12 stitches, by making an increase in every stitch. Just like that. And now we're going to make 18 stitches in the next round. So we're going to do an increase and then a single crochet. And then we're just going to repeat that. Once you get to 18, we're going to do 2 rounds of 18 in brown. Once you're done with 2 rounds of 18, you are then going to add a round of white, and it should be 18 stitches as well. So make sure that you are counting your stitches. Once you're done with that 1 round of 18, go ahead and fasten off the white, and then we'll rejoin the brown. We'll flip it out, and this is what it looks like so far. Okay. So again, rejoin the brown. Okay, and we are going to do 2 more rounds of 18 in brown. Once you did your 2 rounds of brown for 18 stitches, you are then going to start decreasing. So you're going to make an invisible decrease, and then you are going to single crochet 4 times. So you're going to repeat that for a total of 3 times for this round, and we're going to go from 18 stitches to 15 stitches. Okay, so again, that is going to be an invisible decrease, and then 4 single crochet stitches. Now that you have 15 stitches, you're going to make 5 rounds of 15. Once you did the 5 rounds of 15, go ahead and stuff the arm. Okay, once you have it stuffed to your liking, then you are going to do the last round, which we're going to take it from 15 to 12. So we are going to start off by making a decrease. And then 3 single crochets. And we're going to repeat that 3 times. So you should end up with 12. All right, and then this is the gingerbread hand or arm. As you see, it is very bulbous, and I did stuff it pretty good, almost to the top even. Maybe I stuffed it a bit thick down here and then a little looser up there. I just feel with the gingerbread pattern that this just works out where it looks better as kind of like almost overstuffed, because it is a cookie. It is kind of have like that squishy quality to it. So now we're going to crochet the arm closed. So you're just going to grab the next stitch and then the crochet stitch behind, and you're just going to crochet it closed. So flatten your arm at the top and then go through both sides. You want to make sure that it is fairly even. And then once you're done, you just want to make a slip stitch and then fasten off, leave some yarn for sewing. And now we have all the pieces needed to complete the gingerbread man. Okay, you might have to like redistribute some of the yarn because you did squeeze a bit at the top. But now we'll set those aside. Okay, so I set that aside, and now we're going to go ahead and make the bow. So to make the bow, you're going to start off with a chain, and you're just going to chain 40. Once you have a chain of 40, you are then going to make a single crochet in that second chain from the hook, and you're just going to go ahead and single crochet in every chain. Okay, once you're done, you want to weave in your ends. So you should have like a little ribbon like this. It's okay if it curls, it will do that, but that shouldn't be an issue for what we're going to do. So what I did is I just kind of set about an 8-inch, 6-inch piece of yarn. I just cut that. And then what you want to do with your yarn is you want to kind of cross it. Okay, so you want to do that. And then you want to take this middle of the loop and you're going to push it down right where you have like these little ends at. And now you're going to take you're going to pinch it and you're going to lift it. You're going to put the string that I just cut like the 6-8 inches from, you want to kind of like put it somewhere in the middle of it, and then you're going to tie it off. And so you want to knot it a couple times. Ideally, you want to make these strings long enough that you can sew it to your gingerbread, but I did not, so I'm going to have to add another piece. To hide these little ends, what I do is I just stick them into the gingerbread. So that is our little bow there, and it'll go right here on the gingerbread man. So now we're actually ready to start sewing, and we're going to sew on our arms first and then the ribbon last. Okay, so to sew on the arms, we're actually going to place them right here at the neck, probably one row down. Okay, just like that. So to sew, you're just going to grab your yarn and your yarn needle. And then you're going to kind of go one round down right there. You want to make sure that it is fairly even with the side of the body. Make sure that it's right there. And it lines up with the leg. And then you just want to go in and start sewing it. Just like that. And I just kind of grab the arm with my needle, as well as the round that I want to work into. And I put a stitch there. And then you want to make sure that it is where you want it and that it's even and it looks about right. So I'm going to go ahead and sew on the rest of the arm, going through the arm as well as the stitch. And then you're just going to be repeating that. Okay, and then I like to make a little knot at the end to make sure that it is nice and secure. Do that in maybe 1 or 2 places. We really don't want the arms to pop off, but if it happens, no big deal, but it shouldn't happen. And now that it's all sewed on, I just like to tuck in my yarn tail and have it poke somewhere out the back, and then I can trim it. And that is how you add an arm. So I'm going to add the other arm and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we have our arms on. Kind of readjust the head because I kind of bent it out of shape. And then now all we have to do is add our bow, and it'll go right there. So I accidentally made my yarn a little bit too short, so I have to cut more yarn. I had to reattach some yarn so that I have like a long tail end because these were too short for me. So I just tied it again around the middle. And now that I have like that knot on the back, I'm going to go through the middle stitches on the neck, like that. And then after that, I am going to go through the middle, through the front. You're going through so many layers, it might be a little difficult, but it's okay. You only have to tack it on, which only takes about 1 to 2 stitches. With these yarn tails, you just want to kind of like move them out of your way so that you can see what you're doing though. Just like that. And then you just want to go across onto the other side and then repeat going through like those middle stitches, maybe about 1 or 2 more times, or until you can pull on it and it's tied down. This one's pretty tied down after 1, so I'm just going to again move those little yarns out of my way real quick. We will get rid of them soon. And on the back side, I'm just going to tack it down. So I'm going to tie a little knot right next to where the ribbon is. I'm going to tie that tight and then tuck in the tail. And then I usually just poke it somewhere out towards the back. Now these little yarn tails that are out in front, we could do the exact same thing. We can just put it on our yarn needle here and stick it through. All right, and there is your finished bow tie. So now we're going to do the details on the face. Okay, so now we're going to grab some more of that white yarn, and we're going to add the highlights to the eyes. So I like to just kind of like poke it somewhere through the side of the face, and then I bring it about halfway mark on the eye, and then we'll go through the halfway mark down at the bottom. So we only do the outer half, and then I like to stick my yarn through the top of the other eye, just so that it's like less yarn that I have to move around. And so you just do a quick little pull, and it should look like that. I'll show you on the second one. So stick through the eye, and then you pull, 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 pull. Now you don't want to pull too tight because you want that white to show, but it's pretty sturdy once it's in there. So again, just clip off the yarn, and then you just need a little bit of black yarn to make the mouth. So probably about 8 inches or so. And we're going to make the mouth right there in the middle stitch. It's just a tiny little mouth. Okay, so I like to kind of poke it from, again, a different side of the head, sometimes from the back of the head. A little tail there. Okay, and then now that it's poking out there, I go 1 stitch over and then 1 stitch down in that middle. You might have to split the stitch below, but that's okay. And then while you're pulling it tight, you're going to go underneath that loop, and then you're going to bring that loop down, and then you're going to poke the yarn out. You want to make this going down, at least this little part of the stitch, because then it makes it look like a V. And so now we can go ahead and trim the little excess from the mouth. And guess what? Your gingerbread man is done. Alright, and this is how you make the gingerbread man pattern. If you like this pattern, please like, subscribe, hit follow, and I promise to put out more videos soon. Bye!